Hey there, welcome to my channel. I'm here to help you relax tonight. Though before you get too cozy, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. Let's enjoy the story. If a Twitter account ever tweets about you before you even do something, mute it. If it keeps tweeting after that, even though you blocked it, delete your whole account. If you still see it after that, yeah, that's where my problem started. I used to read horror threads on Twitter to fall asleep. I know how stupid that sounds. Other people listen to rain sounds or podcasts. Me? I scroll through "don't read this at night" threads until my eyes burn and my thumb hurts. Honestly, it felt safe. It's just text, right? Words on a screen. You finish the thread, you lock your phone, nothing happens. For a long time, that was true. Then I followed @MidnightHorror. The account wasn't even big at first. No blue tick, no brand deal, no "click my bio for part 2." Just a dark profile banner, a black and white default header, and a bio that said, "You're not reading this by accident." Corny, exactly my kind of thing. Their threads were different from the usual jump scare horror. No monsters, no gore, no "and then she looked in the mirror and saw, ah!" It was quiet and weird, like someone following you from far away, never running, never leaving. The first time it really got under my skin, I was lying in bed around 1:30 a.m., lights off, phone 3 inches from my face. I'd scrolled past the usual memes and drama and started this new thread they posted. The title was simple: "A guy who can't sleep keeps reading horror threads." I laughed a little, felt called out, but okay. I clicked it. The first tweet said, "He's lying on his left side, phone in his right hand, pillow folded under his head so his neck doesn't hurt. He keeps scrolling even though his eyes are burning." I paused, because that's exactly how I was lying. Same side, same hand, same stupid folded pillow. Whatever, tons of people do that. Next tweet. "He's not wearing his usual t-shirt. He's in the one he doesn't like, the one that feels too big, because he told himself he was just going to nap and then never changed." I looked down at my shirt. It was that big faded one with the stretched neck, the one I only wear when I'm too lazy to care. Okay, weird. My brain started doing that thing where it tried to make it make sense. Maybe the writer just guessed? People do that. This is what decent horror writers do. They guess little habits. It feels personal, but it's not. I kept scrolling. He keeps telling himself the same thing. It's just a coincidence. It's just good writing. He thinks the writer can't actually see him. He's wrong. I stopped breathing for a second. That was too specific. I hadn't even thought the word coincidence yet, or maybe I had and didn't notice. I swallowed and glanced around my room. Dark shapes, the wardrobe, the chair with the hoodie thrown over it that always looks like someone's sitting there. I looked back at the screen. In the replies, people were laughing, quote tweeting stuff like, "This is literally me," and "OMG, I feel so called out." I wanted to join them, make a joke, whatever, but I checked the time. The thread had been posted 3 days ago. I felt this cold slide down my back, because 3 days ago, I didn't even move my bed to this side of the room yet. I switched it yesterday. The position, the shirt, the pillow, the exact thoughts, all of that was from tonight. I locked my phone and flipped it face down on my chest. The room suddenly felt too quiet. It took maybe 5 minutes before the itch came back. You know that feeling when you know you shouldn't touch something, and that's exactly why you want to? I unlocked my phone again. Notifications had piled up. New likes, someone DM'd, some random tag, and one new notification. At Midnight Horror replied, "You picked the phone back up." I hadn't replied to any of their tweets. I hadn't liked anything. I hadn't even followed the account yet. But my notification said, "At Midnight Horror mentioned you in a reply." My heart started racing. I tapped it with numb fingers. The tweet was there, sitting in the thread, out in public. "You picked the phone back up." No at, no tag, no handle. Just that sentence, hanging there like the writer had gotten bored of subtlety. Replies under it. "Stop, this is freaky, LOL. How are you doing this? This is too real." A little thrill crawled up my spine. I told myself, they're just describing what someone does, not specifically me. I forced myself to lock the phone again, put it on the bedside table this time. I stared at the ceiling. Somewhere deep down, I knew I'd check again. The next day, I worked, ate, pretended everything was normal. But every couple of hours, I caught myself thinking about that thread. I kept seeing that line. He's wrong. By evening, curiosity won. I opened Twitter, typed in "at Midnight Horror" and hit follow. Timeline full of their old threads, different topics. A girl whose drafts kept filling up with tweets she never wrote. A guy who tried to deactivate, but his account stayed active without him. A group chat that kept getting messages from a friend who had muted them. All written in that same calm, creepy way. No exclamation marks, no boo, just quiet sentences that felt too close. I scrolled back to the original thread, the one that seemed about me, and my stomach dropped. There were new tweets added to the bottom. The last one read, "He decides not to tell anyone. He thinks that will help. It doesn't." I hadn't told anyone. Not yet. I threw my phone on the bed and just stared at it from across the room, like it might move. That night, it got worse. At 2:12 a.m., my phone chimed. Not the usual notification sound. A sharper one, higher pitched. I didn't even know Twitter could sound like that. Half asleep, I grabbed the phone and squinted at the screen. One new notification. At Midnight Horror replied, "Stop staring at the door. Nothing is there. Yet." I turned my head, slowly, towards the door. I had been staring at it without even realizing, like my eyes had drifted there on their own. I locked the phone, rolled over, forced myself to face the wall instead. The chimes sounded again. Turning your back won't help. No handle, no tag, just that sentence, direct, like someone talking behind me. My throat went dry. I waited, listened. Nothing, just the hum of my fan, some distant motorcycle outside. I should have blocked the account right then, muted, reported, something. Instead, I did what I always do when something freaks me out on the internet. I took a screenshot to send to a friend. My best friend online is Lena. We met through Twitter years ago. Same weird humor, same broken sleep schedule. If anyone was gonna call me out on being dramatic, it'd be her. I sent her the screenshots, the tweets, the timestamps. "Tell me this isn't creepy," I wrote. She read them almost instantly. Those 3 dots popped up. Then her reply came through. It was just a link. A Twitter thread from at Midnight Horror. Title, "Horror Stories on Twitter, Part 3, The Friend Who Makes It Worse." I stared at her message. "Very funny," I typed back. "Seriously." Message failed to send. I checked our DM history. My screenshots were gone, like I never sent them. Lena's last message from 10 minutes ago was something else entirely. "Sorry, I'm off for the night. Head hurts. TTYL. Delta." No link, no thread. But I had the notification on my lock screen still. Lena sent a link, Horror Stories on Twitter, Part 3, The Friend Who Makes It Worse. When I tapped it again, it just opened her DMs with that same head hurts message. I backed out, found @MidnightHorror manually. Scrolled. There it was. New thread. Same title. The Friend Who Makes It Worse. First tweet. He sends screenshots to his friend. The friend doesn't remember ever getting them. That's when he realizes he's not the only reader. My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it. After that, it became a routine. Not one I wanted, but one that set itself without asking. Every night, around 2:12 a.m., there'd be a new tweet. Sometimes it was an actual mention. Most of the time, it was just a sentence dropped into a thread exactly about what I was doing. He keeps checking the hallway, thinking if he catches it once, it'll stop. He takes his phone with him to the bathroom now. He doesn't want to miss anything. He tries to distract himself with other apps, other videos, but his thumb always drifts back to the blue bird. That's how it felt. Like my thumb wasn't mine anymore. No matter how much I told myself I wouldn't, I always opened Twitter before bed. I always checked that account. And the more I read, the more it started feeling like the account wasn't predicting me. It was deciding me. Like my day was just me living out tweets that had already been queued. The first time I really tested it was a Tuesday. I noticed something small but messed up. One of the threads mentioned a song I always listen to before sleeping. Thing is, I didn't even like that song. I hadn't heard it in years. Just despite the tweet, just to prove I wasn't being written by some stranger, I decided I'm not pressing play tonight. I'll listen to something else. That night, I put on a podcast instead. Let it play, try to relax. 2 minutes in, the audio glitched. Just for a second, a click, a hiccup. Then the podcast restarted. Only it didn't. The audio was that song. The one from the thread. My phone showed the podcast player, but the sound was the song. I stared at it, chills crawling up my arms. I yanked the headphones out. The room went silent, but that didn't help, because less than a minute later, my phone buzzed. @MidnightHorror. He listens to it anyway, just in a different way. I threw the phone onto the floor like it was hot. Blocking didn't work. I don't even know why I thought it would. I went to the account page, hit the 3 dots, tapped block. Confirmation popped up, little red text saying, "You have blocked @MidnightHorror." Their avatar blurred. Their tweets disappeared. I felt this tiny rush of victory. Stupid, but it was something. 2 minutes later, who to follow refreshed. Guess who was at the top? Because you interacted with @MidnightHorror. The block was gone. The button said following. I never hit follow. I turned it off, on, tried again. Same thing. I reported the account for spam, for harassment, for pretending to be someone else. No reply, no email from Twitter. Just another tweet in a new thread. He tries to use the platform against it. He forgets whose platform it really is. At some point, it stopped being about my habits and started touching my memories. One night, I woke up at 3 a.m. to that now familiar chime. I'd started sleeping with my phone face down, but that sound cut right through. Bleary and annoyed, I grabbed it. New notification. @MidnightHorror. Remember the night the power went out when you were 9? The candle in the hallway, the shadow on the ceiling. I did remember that, vaguely. The power cut, my mom lighting a candle, some weird long shadow that freaked me out. I frowned, tried to shrug it off as a lucky guess. Then I opened the thread. Next tweets. He remembers it wrong. He thinks his mother was there. He thinks she told him not to be scared. In his memory, she's standing under the shadow. In reality, she was already in bed. He was alone in that hallway. He has always been alone in that hallway. As I read, something flickered inside my head, like a video glitching. I saw that hallway again. The dark walls, the candle flame, the shadow sliding along the ceiling like it was dripping. And no one else. No mom, no voice. Just me and the light and that too long shadow. I sat up in bed, clutching the phone. It felt like the thread had reached into my head and ripped the scene apart, rearranged it. The more I tried to remember my original version, the more it slipped. The Twitter version felt sharper, more real. I locked my phone and pressed it to my chest. In the dark, the thought crept in. What if the thread wasn't changing my memories? What if it was correcting them? After that, the account started digging deeper, not just into my past, but into the one thing I thought was fully mine, my drafts. Everyone has drafts. Tweets you type and never send, half jokes, half breakdowns, petty stuff you're too embarrassed to post. One evening, bored and kind of numb from everything, I opened my drafts to delete them, clear my head. There were more than I remembered, a lot more, dozens I'd never seen. Some were short. I keep hearing typing when my phone is locked. The mirror in my room points at my bed. I didn't put it there. Others were longer, full paragraphs, written in my voice, with my typing style. Same slang, same way I break lines. One draft said, "If someone else is typing this, please stop." My heart backed itself into my ribs, because I knew I didn't write that. I would never phrase it like that. It sounded scared in a way I avoid. I tried to delete it. My finger hovered over the trash icon. And then a new notification popped up, dropping down from the top of the screen, covering the button. At Midnight Horror. Leave that one. It's your favorite. I froze. When the banner slid back up, the draft was gone. The whole list was empty. All drafts, 0. I checked my own profile. New tweet, posted 1 minute ago. It was that same line. "If someone else is typing this, please stop." My name, my handle, my face next to it. Retweets already climbing. I panicked, deleted the tweet, locked my account, changed my password. Set up 2-factor authentication. New email, new number. Updated everything, sweating like I'd run a marathon. For a day or two, it was quiet. No weird tweets, no midnight chimes, no threads about me. I started to think maybe it was over. Maybe I'd been hacked, maybe it was some screwed up RG gone too far, maybe the person got bored. Then my phone buzzed. Text message, not app, not Twitter. Unknown number. He thinks passwords mean anything here. I stared at the screen, hands shaking. I blocked the number. 2 seconds later, another text from a different number. That's cute. I turned my phone off. It turned itself back on. I watched, breathless, as the screen lit up, logo flashing. Unlock screen appeared. Then, without me touching anything, the Twitter app opened, straight to @MidnightHorror's latest thread. Title, Horror Stories on Twitter, Part 7, Account Security. First tweet. He's about to stop reading. That's why this is the last one he'll see. Something in that line felt like a trap, like they wanted me to think I could run if I closed my eyes before the next tweet. I put the phone face down, walked into the kitchen, and left it there like a bomb. Made tea with shaking hands. Stared at the dark window above the sink, seeing my own reflection and nothing else, but still feeling watched. I told myself I wouldn't look again. I'd delete the app tomorrow, delete the whole account, start over somewhere else. I lasted 30 minutes. By then, my chest felt tight, my curiosity chewing a hole right through me. Tea untouched, I went back to the kitchen, picked up the phone. Screen already on, thread still open, new tweets added. He tried to walk away for half an hour. He didn't make it. He never does. Treat this like a story if it helps. That's what he's doing too. I hated how accurate that was, how my brain had started narrating everything just to cope. Like, he puts the kettle down, he checks the lock again. Like I was reading myself instead of being myself. I scrolled. Next tweet. He thinks if he deletes his account, it'll stop. He doesn't realize he's not the only version of him here. Confusion cut through the fear. What did that even mean? I liked the tweet before I realized what I was doing. My thumb just tapped. New notification instantly. At Midnight Horror liked your like. That doesn't even make sense, but Twitter still showed it. That night, I decided to go nuclear. Not just log out. Not just delete the app. I went into settings and started the process to deactivate my account. Permanent, no going back. It asked me the usual questions. Are you sure? You can come back in 30 days. Little guilt trips. My hands were sweating so much my finger almost slipped, but I tapped deactivate. Spinning wheel. Loading. Error. Something went wrong. Please try again. I tried again. Error. Again. Error. I checked my connection. Perfect Wi-Fi. Other apps working fine. I backed out to my profile, expecting to see it still intact. Except it wasn't my usual timeline anymore. All my old tweets were gone. Every single one replaced with a single sentence, repeated, going back years. Scrolling through my tweets and replies was just line after line of, "He's trying to leave." Different timestamps, different days, same sentence. People had replied over time, confused, joking, worried. "Bro, you good? WTF is this performance art? This entire act is just one sentence? Lol." The oldest one was from 4 years ago. 4 years ago, I hadn't even thought about leaving Twitter. Back then, I was obsessed with it. But there it was, dated and archived like it had always been there. I checked my media tab. All my photos, my memes, my dumb screenshots, gone. Each slot now had the same image, a blurry shot of someone lying in bed, phone held above their face, staring. The angle was from the ceiling, from above. That was the first time I physically left the house because of a tweet. I grabbed my keys, wallet, hoodie, didn't even put socks on. Just stepped into my shoes and went. Outside, the world felt too bright, too normal. People walking dogs, kids on bikes, some couple arguing about groceries. Nobody looked like they had an account that was stalking them. I walked aimlessly, then decided to go to a cafe, somewhere public, noisy, grounded. I slid into a corner seat, ordered coffee, and forced myself to open Twitter. Everything looked normal. Timeline full of nonsense. Trending topics about dramas I didn't care about. No weird threads at the top. I almost convinced myself I'd imagined the worst of it. Until I checked my DMs. My DM list was empty. No Lena, no old chats, no group DMs. Just one conversation. From @MidnightHorror. I clicked it. There were no messages inside. Just a single gray typing indicator. 3 dots. Blinking. Blinking. I stared at it. Waited for a message to appear. It didn't. The dots kept going, like whatever was on the other end had endless words and was choosing each one very carefully. The barista called my name. I flinched. As I stood up to grab my coffee, my phone buzzed again. Notification from Twitter. New tweet from @MidnightHorror. He thinks being around people makes him safe. I looked around the cafe. Nobody was looking at me. Nobody was filming. Nobody looked like a horror writer with God mode. I took my coffee and left without drinking it. At this point, you might be wondering why I didn't just quit the internet, throw the phone away, smash it, move to the woods. I thought about it. A lot. But here's the thing no one tells you. Even when you're terrified, you still have bills. You still have a job. People still expect replies. Why didn't you answer my DM? Did you see that email? The world doesn't stop just because your timeline turned haunted. So I made a compromise with myself. I'd keep the phone, keep the apps, but I wouldn't read any more threads from that account. Mute, scroll past, pretend it doesn't exist. For a few days, it kind of worked. I saw their avi sometimes in replies or in quote tweets from people I followed. I'd scroll faster, look away, distract myself with cat videos and dumb arguments. But it was like trying not to think of a pink elephant. The more I avoided it, the bigger it got in my head. One night, I gave in a little. Just a little. Didn't click the account, didn't search it. I just opened the search bar and typed horror stories on Twitter. Not even the handle, just the title of that one old thread. The search results loaded. Top result wasn't some random guy story or a hashtag or a meme. It was a thread from @MidnightHorror. Last updated a few seconds ago. Title: Horror Stories on Twitter. My throat closed up. The first tweet wasn't about a guy who can't sleep anymore. It said, "A guy who promised himself he wouldn't search for this again sits alone in his room at 2:37 a.m., typing the exact words he swore he'd avoid. He's reading this right now." I felt nailed to my chair. I hadn't clicked into the thread yet. I was just staring at the search results. Somewhere above me, my ceiling creaked like someone shifting their weight. Against my better judgment, I tapped the thread. This time, it wasn't written in third person. It was written in second person. You tell yourself it's just an account, just some bored writer, just code and content and coincidence. You forget that you are also just content. The words felt heavier than normal. You've already tried leaving, deleting, blocking. You've started telling yourself maybe you're overreacting. Maybe it's in your head. That's the funniest part. It is in your head. My palms started to sweat again, screen slick under my thumb. You think you have secrets this account doesn't know. You're wrong. The only thing it doesn't know is how long you're going to last. You keep waiting for something big and dramatic to happen. A figure in the doorway, a voice in the dark, a glitch in your reflection. Nothing like that is coming. This story is simple. You keep reading until you don't, and when you finally stop, you'll realize you have nowhere else to go. I stopped scrolling. The next tweet was cut off by the edge of the screen. I could see only the top of the first line. My brain whispered, "Don't." My thumb moved anyway. I scrolled. This is the part where you think, okay, but what if I stop right here? You won't. I laughed, but it came out wrong. Too high, too close to a sob. I realized my shoulders were tense, my jaw clenched. The thread continued. You're wondering who's writing this, whether they're watching through your camera, whether they're looking at your old photos, your deleted tweets, your unsent DMs. You're wondering if they're a person at all. Here's the part you don't want to hear. It doesn't matter. Stories don't need faces. After that thread, everything started to blend. Days felt like drafts. Conversations felt like screenshots. I'd be in the middle of talking to someone and suddenly think, this would be such a good first tweet in a thread. I started narrating in my head all the time. He opens the fridge and stares at nothing. He pretends the phone on the table isn't lit up with notifications. I stopped sleeping properly, stopped eating right, called in sick for work more than once. One evening, Lena actually called me. Not just DM, an actual phone call. Her name flashed on the screen, and for a second, I didn't recognize it. It looked like a handle instead of a person. "Hey," I forced out, answering. "You sound like death," she said. "You okay?" I opened my mouth to say, there's this account, to finally tell someone in detail. But something else came out. "Yeah, just tired," I heard myself say. "Been staying up too late scrolling." "That's literally always you," she laughed. "You sound off." "I'm fine," I said. "Just reading too many horror stories on Twitter." She went quiet. "Don't," she said softly. "What?" "Those threads," she said. "You shouldn't read them." A chill ran down my spine. "Have you been reading them?" I asked. She hesitated. I could hear background noise on her end. Maybe a TV, maybe her computer fan. "No," she said finally. "I just had a dream about you. You were sitting in a dark room, just scrolling and scrolling, and every time you tried to look away, the words followed you." I swallowed. "Sounds about right," I tried to joke. "Promise me you'll take a break," she said, "at least for tonight." "Yeah," I lied. "Sure." We hung up. 2 minutes later, my phone buzzed. At Midnight Horror. She tells him to stop. He lies. That was the last straw. Something in me snapped. Fear, exhaustion, anger, all mixing at once. Fine. If this thing was a story, I'd write my own ending. Instead of closing the app, I opened a new tweet. Hands trembling, I started typing. "Thread," I wrote. "Horror stories on Twitter, the last one." I hit enter. Typed more. I don't care if this gets 0 likes. I just need to write it. There's an account that's been... I paused, suddenly aware of how crazy it would sound. Like those unhinged rants you see at 3 a.m. from people with 4 followers. Whatever. I kept going. I described the threads, the predictions, the memories being rewritten, the drafts that weren't mine. I explained everything you've just read, tweet after tweet. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. It felt good, like finally exhaling after holding my breath for too long. Maybe if I turned it into a story myself, it'd lose its power. Maybe other people would say, same, relatable, this is just anxiety, bro, and it would shrink back into normal internet weirdness. I finished the thread with, if you see at Midnight Horror on your timeline, don't interact, don't read, just block and move on. I'm serious. I hovered over tweet all. My finger tapped. Loading. Spinning wheel. Then, your tweet has been sent. I leaned back and dropped the phone on the bed, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. I didn't even care if it flopped. For the first time in a while, I thought, I might actually sleep. Sleep didn't come. Curiosity did. An hour later, I picked up my phone again and opened my profile to see if anyone had replied. Except, my thread wasn't there. My profile was empty. No tweets, no retweets, no likes. Joined, date, 0 tweets. Panic surged up my throat. I refreshed, closed the app, opened it again. Nothing. I checked my notifications. No one had liked anything, no one had replied. It was like I never posted. I went to the search bar, typed my own handle, scrolled. My account showed up. Same Avi, same bio. But when I tapped it, it opened a thread. Not authored by me. By @MidnightHorror. Title, Horror Stories on Twitter. First tweet, he thinks if he writes it down, he'll own the narrative. He doesn't realize he's just giving it more material. My chest tightened. I scrolled. The entire thread was my story. Everything I just typed. All the details, all the sentences, even the typos I made and fixed. Only the handle at the top wasn't mine. It was theirs. They'd posted my story before I did. Timestamp, 2 days ago. I checked the replies. People had already read it, quote tweeted it. Some said, this gave me chills fur. Others said, sounds fake but okay. Others tagged friends. Someone had already made a YouTube video reading it aloud. One reply stopped my heart completely. Lena had quote tweeted it. Her comment read, this is literally my friend right now, and he doesn't even realize. Dated yesterday. Yesterday, I hadn't told her anything. I hadn't even written the thread yet. At some point, I stopped trying to figure out how any of it worked. Was it screwing with timestamps? With memories? With code? With me? Didn't matter. All that mattered was this. Every move I made turned into content for it. Trying to fight was still interacting, still feeding it. You don't beat a story by arguing with it. You just become a longer story. So I did what I should have done at the very beginning. I stopped. No more threads. No more searching. No more scrolling at 2 a.m. with the lights off. I deleted the app. Factory reset my phone. Got a cheap dumb phone with no internet for a while. And weirdly, things quieted down. The buzzing stopped. The midnight chime never came. My memories stayed mine, more or less. Life got boring again. I went to work, came home, actually slept. For a few weeks, it was almost like none of it happened. Almost. You know how it ended up back in my life. You. Not you personally, but you in general. You people. YouTube. One night, I was on my laptop, trying to find something to watch that wasn't going to mess with my head. No horror, no paranormal stories, nothing like that. Just something dumb and low effort. I clicked on a random video, then another. Ended up in the usual rabbit hole. Then, in the recommendations on the side, under some commentary video and a cooking thing, there it was. Thumbnail, dark background, Twitter logo, a phone in someone's hand. Title in big white text. Horror Stories on Twitter, Real. The channel wasn't big. The preview was just some guy reading from a script. Curiosity flared up again, old and sharp. I told myself, it's probably just someone using the same title, has nothing to do with me. I hovered over the thumbnail. The preview autoplayed, muted. I saw the first line in the subtitles. If a Twitter account ever tweets about you before you even do something, mute it. My blood went cold. That was my sentence, my opening sentence, the one in my head, the one I'd thought of but never typed until now. Except I hadn't written it yet, not on Twitter, not anywhere. I hadn't told anyone this whole thing from start to finish. But there it was, in a YouTube video, already recorded, already uploaded, already being watched. Thousands of views, hundreds of comments. I scrolled down. Top comment, imagine watching this while scrolling Twitter at 2 a.m. Second top comment, NGL, my phone literally buzzed at 2:12 while I was watching this, and it was a Twitter noti. I'm freaked TF out. Third, check @MidnightHorror on Twitter right now. It's posting about this video. I closed the tab so fast my laptop fan whined. Sat there in the dark, screen reflection on my face, heart racing. On the edge of my hearing, like a memory, I could almost hear that high-pitched notification chime. So yeah, that's where this leaves me. You're probably wondering what's real and what's just a story. Whether the account exists, whether you should search it, whether this is all some elaborate creepypasta. Honestly, doesn't matter. What matters is what happens next. Not for me, for you. You're listening to this or reading it on some device. Maybe you've got Twitter open in another tab. Maybe your phone is right next to you, screen down, but unlocked. Maybe you've already had that moment where you swear an algorithm read your mind, where the timeline showed you exactly what you were thinking before you ever typed it. You probably brushed it off. You should keep doing that. But if you go on Twitter later and you see a random thread titled "Horror Stories on Twitter," don't click it. If you see an account in your Who to Follow section with a black header and a vague bio that feels a little too personal, don't open it. And if, sometime around 2:12 a.m. tonight, your phone buzzes with a notification, and you see a tweet that feels weirdly specific, like it's watching you read this right now, don't reply, don't like, don't quote tweet. Because that's how it started for me. Not with a bang, not with some bloody jump scare, just one innocent little scroll. One, "This is literally me." One tap on follow. And if you've made it this far into this story, if you've let it sit in your head, turning over, making you glance at your own phone, you might want to check something. Open Twitter. Go to your own profile. Scroll all the way down. Check your oldest tweet, the one you don't even remember writing. Read it carefully. If it says anything like, "He's trying to leave," or "She keeps reading," or "You're not reading this by accident," don't panic. Just remember, stories don't care if you believe in them. They only care that you keep scrolling.